G'day Footy Tragics, episode 3 of the Rugby League Guy. Thanks for joining me. You may be wondering why I'm holding on to a Western Suburbs Magpies beer glass. Well, CJ and the team from the Final Tackle podcast are tributing the Wests Magpies this week, and that reminded me of this very special piece I have at home that was given to my dad many years ago, back in I think about 1977. And he's no longer with us, so I cherish this even more so. And I was also given one, and they both sit together and take pride of place on my shelf at home. So well done to CJ and the team at the Final Tackle podcast for recognising one of our great clubs in history, and one of our 1908 originals. And CJ did an interview with one of those ex-champions today, Les Boyd, and it was fantastic. So get across to their Facebook page, Final Tackle Podcast, click on the link and have a listen to that interview. It's a perler. So moving on into a round 17 review. Now, of course, 38-10, the Knights over the Sharks. We had Chad Townsend lay out Kalen Ponga during the game. He was sent off. I think that's probably where it's going to end. But the Knights just far too strong for the Sharks, who are continuing to play a lot of inconsistent footy. The Storm, they got home over the Rabbitohs 22-16. The Rabbitohs really were their own worst enemies in the second half with a very poor completion rate, and the Storm took full advantage of that. So well done to Craig Bellamy and the Storm, and another great game from Cameron Smith, and really shows why he is the legend that he is. Third game of the round, the Titans got up over my beloved Bulldogs, of course, sadly. But nonetheless, the Titans got off to a quick start, and they managed to go on with it and came away with the 18-14 win, even though the Dogs did come up with a little bit of a whimper at one point. It wasn't enough to get them home. Tigers versus Manly. Well, the Tigers, again, they were down. They were getting hammered at half-time, but they came back to win 34-32 in what was probably classed as a bit of a seesaw affair. Des wouldn't have been happy, but Michael Maguire will probably go away with a little bit of a smile, but still a lot of work to do as the Tigers coach. The Roosters got up over the Raiders at GIO Stadium in Canberra, and of course a lot of interest in this one with Sonny Bill Williams returning to the NRL. He got his 13 minutes of fame and was understandably quite tired after those 13 minutes, but I think he will obviously increase his minutes as the weeks go on. Nice to have him back though, so welcome back SBW. Eels and the Warriors 24 points to 18. The Eels got up in that one. I had tipped the Eels, but I was kind of on the back of the Warriors in the end. Just have a little bit of a soft spot for them this year, but it wasn't to be. Again, a little bit more controversy with some of the decisions from the officials, but nonetheless the Eels got away with the 2 points. Last but not least was the Cowboys up in Cowboy land, defeating the Dragons by 23 points to 22. A field goal sealed the deal there, and my tips finished 5 from 8. So again, probably not a good idea to go following my tips. So as we move into some of the top stories, Anthony Griffin has been appointed as head coach of the St George Illawarra Dragons for the next 2 years. Dean Young was hotly tipped to get that position, but it appears some of the experts think that perhaps it was best that a coach appointed did not have a previous history with the club, and particularly when you look at Wayne Bennett, who met that criteria, no previous history with the club, and won a comp with them in 2010. They might be looking to get the same out of Anthony Griffin. Different coaches, different times, but with the possibility of Jack de Belin back, he should know in November. That will strengthen the forward as well, and I guess he'll be on the lookout to pick up a few players along the way as well. So congratulations to Anthony Griffin. Josh Reynolds, Russell Packer, for those that haven't heard, they ditched their team at half-time on Saturday night at Brookvale. The Tigers were getting a touch-up at half-time, as I said before, and Grubb and Packer decided that they weren't going to hang around for it. They've been heavily criticised. There's talk that it was a show of disgust, I guess, if you like, for Coach Michael Maguire, rather than for their teammates, but nonetheless it's a bad look. So I don't think we'll hear too much more about it, but probably something those guys need to think about before doing something like that again in the future. Kieran Foran has done a pectoral muscle. He's gone for the season. It looks like he has played his last game for Canterbury Bankstown. Where his future lies now, I don't think anybody really knows. I would say that it's probably an opportunity for him to go back and reunite with his childhood teammate Mitch Pearce at the Knights. People saying there's not enough money to go around at the Knights, but I'm leaning towards that. And then probably next stop is going to be retirement, because he knocked back a deal for about $400,000 to stay with the Bulldogs for another year. He said he felt he had 2 years in him, more football to give. But of course, now that he's gone through this injury, that changes things, and there may not be the clubs out there chasing his services that perhaps he thought there would be. So good luck to Kieran. He's been riddled with injury, but he's always given everything he's got when he's on the field. So there's no question about his integrity or his commitment. Just been a very, very unlucky player with injury. So I wish him all the best. Now, while still on the Bulldogs, Gus Gould has basically suggested to Trent Barrett, incoming head coach, that he rethink his commitment to the Bulldogs club from 2021 and beyond, because the boardroom is a shambles. Well, there's no doubt about that. No one's going to argue with Gus on that one. The boardroom is a shambles. I think that's the same can be said about the West Tigers, and of course the results don't lie. The Dogs are sitting 16th again, and the Tigers haven't made a final series since 2011. So ultimately, the fish does rot from the head down. And I think, instead of looking at all the things that are wrong at the club, I think, the Bulldogs, maybe even the Tigers, should probably go and go across to the Roosters and buy them lunch and try and get some tips on how to run a club, because I think the Roosters have been doing it right for a while now. We often sit here and joke and have a laugh at the Roosters' expense, talking about the salary sombrero and what have you, but they're doing something right, and I think the Dogs could do worse than to say, hey, let's sit down, I'll buy you, shout your lunch, and give me some tips on how you do this, because I agree they are failing dismally, as are the Magpies. And from my understanding, St George Illawarra not too far off mayhem either. So that's a case of wait and see what happens. But I'm told that Trent Barrett will honour his commitment to the Bulldogs. I wouldn't have thought anything different. And I personally cannot wait for him to get there. So we're looking forward to seeing Trent very soon. Okay, now the round 18 tips. Again, don't put your house on these tips. Do not put your house on these tips. Can't be clearer than that. Tigers, Rabbitohs. I've got the Rabbitohs by 15 points. I think they're going to be way too strong for the Tigers. Bulldogs, Seagulls, 48 years. I've never tipped against my Bulldogs. It's not about to start tonight. Panthers versus the Eels. Panthers, probably a close one, but I reckon the Panthers by about 6 to 8 points. Dragons and the Raiders. I've got the Raiders. I can't see Sticky taking 2 losses in a row, so I've gone with the Raiders to beat, again, an unconvincing Dragons side. Titans versus Broncos. I've got the Titans at home at Cbus Super. They're going for 3 wins on the trot. I don't know if that's ever been done in their short history from the time they joined in 2007. But if they beat the Broncos on Saturday, then they will be, Saturday. That could be the first time they've done that. So a hat-trick of wins there on the cards for the Titans. The Roosters over the Knights. Again, I don't necessarily think it'll be a cricket score, but the Roosters should do it fairly comfortably. I've got the Storm over the Cowboys. You couldn't not tip the Storm. And I've got the Warriors over the Sharks. So I think the Warriors will get the money there. So thanks again for joining me for episode 3 of the Rugby League Guy. I will see you next week, but there could be a couple of sneaky little videos in between with a couple of short stories or breaking news. All right. Thanks for sticking with me. Stay safe. Keep watching Rugby League. Love the game. Toodles.